Fascinating story out of the NFL Brian sent to me today shortly before the show started. The league is expected to opt out of their television deals with Fox, CBS, Amazon, and ESPN 4 years early. Okay, this thing not due to expire till 2033, but they're going to pull the plug on this thing 2029, and the reason is the data that they keep getting in on revenue and revenue projections is the current deal is significantly undervalued. So as much money as the NFL is making, it's way low. So they're going to bail on this bad boy in 2029 and start renegotiating it. It is a ways out. But if you remember last time, it was quite interesting as the side effects were a bidding war for talent, and the play-by-play and the analyst money went from a couple mil to all of a sudden $20-25 million for some of these big hitter play-by-play guys. Tony Romo, $20 million a year. Tom Brady, more, as a result of those networks trying to be the belle of the ball and look the prettiest to get the best games and all that. And I wouldn't be surprised if a similar thing happened this time around. Big money in that sports TV. It's incredible. Like the games that they're putting on now, like third and fourth division live soccer games. You know, it's a golden era if you want to watch Division III college basketball. It's just everywhere on your apps because it's more valuable than anything else. All the TV shows, the movies, we're all getting that on demand.
Exactly. Yeah, we're only watching sports in real time.
Yep. Okay, Nick Harris tweet here. He says, I asked Jerry if a reason why he could be waiting to get Micah's deal done is to see if he shows up to OTAs and steps into the leadership role. That's an interesting angle.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry's answer, Micah has to be the player that he wants paid as. He has to be a tremendous leader for the Dallas Cowboys. Can Micah be a tremendous leader? What's Jerry L saying here?
I think a big thing will be, are you there and at the facility for OTAs and mini camps this year?
And I think that's really the extent of it. It's just being there.
Yeah, and you know what? Even being there at times, even if you're not the natural leader, which it doesn't really appear that Micah is, just from the outside looking in, and then from just, whispers and things that we get told, he doesn't necessarily have all those traits that you're kind of born with, right? You can't just say, like, I'm a leader, I want to be. You kind of just, or you're not. But being there, I think, is half the battle.
It is. Be there with enthusiasm. Yeah. That's leadership. You can't be the rah-rah guy. You can't be the leader of the speaking and all that all the time. Everybody's not talented for that kind of deal. Sorry, Brian.
No problem. I think it's going to be very hard for him to be there all the time. I think he has. Me too. I think he's one of these guys that has so many other interests, and outside. I've said this a bunch. I think he hates classroom football. I don't think he wants to be a part of that.
He likes to sumo wrestle in Japan from time to time.
He likes to podcast. He likes to go around and see professional sporting events. He likes to travel. His time is his time. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him. He will be around when he absolutely has to be around. And if you want to say, okay, is he going to be a leader once they get off the plane in Oxnard and it ends whenever it ends? I think that's fair game. But I don't think when the springtime, that is Micah Parsons' time to go do what Micah Parsons wants to do.
Have you guys ever looked at the sumo guys? They look to be able to stand tall and hold so much power. Like they'd be a good guard, wouldn't they? These sumo guys?
The leverage that they play with, because their ability, their ability to play with their knees bent and then to kind of pick up and drive.
Natural knee benders.
Yeah. Maybe some good one-techs. I know Schotty said,
there you go.
Micah said that he wants to be around. It's where he wants to be. I think we're very comfortable with that. I have no question in my mind that he will be around. So it sounds like maybe a little bit of a challenge from the organization here.
I don't know how much it matters that if he's there. If he wants to be a leader, the only chance is to be there. I just think he's an amazing football player. He's not a leader, so whatever he does on Sundays, I'm thrilled with. But I find it interesting that Jerry said that. Does that have a bearing on the negotiation? Do they look at it like, if you want to get paid like this and you're not a leader, maybe you're not one of our guys? Are the Cowboys just like punching the clock on this negotiation and getting to a final end point at some deadline in the future? Or are they actually considering all options behind the scenes and thinking, we need concessions for Micah and his team, or maybe we try to do something else?
Yeah, because it would be very easy for him to comply for one off season to earn the contract. And then once it's signed, who knows what his off seasons will look like over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, unless you can contractually obligate him. And I don't even know if you're allowed to do that. Obligate a player to voluntary workouts. Can you make them involuntary?
You can negotiate it in a way to where you can say he could get bonuses for working out. But when you're making $40 million a year,
you might not care.
You might get that $250,000 bonus. So what?
Yeah,
that's how some of these players.
I want to be in Fiji.
Yeah, some of these players need the workout bonus money. People that make $40 million a year don't need that money.
Okay, some Coach Schotty audio. He was talking about what they're looking for at 12. Here we go.
Starting point would be best player available. You're always looking for game changers when you're picking 12. Like, we don't want to ever pick 12th again. All right, let's be honest. We don't want to pick that high. But you're looking for guys that influence the game. How do you influence the game? You rush the quarterback and you get sacks, strip sacks, fumbles, whatever it is. You score touchdowns. Okay. So those are usually, I look at it this way. You build it from the outside in. So you got corners, receivers. They get isolated one-on-one. Pass rushers, tackles, they get isolated one-on-one, and then obviously the quarterback position. But usually that's the way I've looked at it, is when you're building a roster, kind of think of it from building it from outside in, based on guys that get isolated a lot. Because when you're isolated and you can't help, it's a pretty daunting task sometimes.
Yeah, pretty general positional value type stuff. Your 4 main important positions. You'd like your best player available to be one of those. But I think the most applicable thing to me is you need best available player, because you need good ones around here.
That outside in was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because, I grew up, I guess, thinking inside out. What are those outside receivers good for if I don't have the ability to block for them to allow my quarterback time? Now,
Shedeur Sanders lives that when he has to deal with Travis Hunter, is one of the best players in college football,
and as a receiver,
they can't block for him.
Yeah, you can be neutralized because now, we've seen it with Pat Mahomes in the 2 Super Bowls that he lost. So I guess maybe for Schotty, he saw Seattle built that way in a sense. Did they do that a little bit outside in? Like they were really good at corner.
John was always taking running backs and always taking offensive linemen. And
like, did we think of their line as being that? They did have some good D linemen, but they were their secondary. So like I get some of what he's saying there, but it's also a different type of approach.
It is different because of the way his father was.
Yeah.
Father was about the physicality, and you would figure that would be inside out. So, yeah, a little bit different there.
It did make me think corner, receiver, edge.
He might be throwing you off a little bit there.
You never know.
Well, that is the premium positions that are getting paid. The guys that hit the quarterbacks, the guys that catch touchdowns, the guys that are defending the wide receivers. And I think the Cowboys have built like that for a long time, targeting those. The trick is, how do you also get a good center, 2 guards, a running back, and stand-up linebackers while making your premium positions as great as possible?
You can't neglect like they have in the past, where you just don't have linebackers, where they're just punting on the position altogether in that final year with Dan Quinn. So there are elements to that as well. But I did think it is one of the first times I've heard that, where you're talking about from the outside in. I get what he's saying, the players on an island that can't necessarily be helped as much with scheme, but you can help wide receivers get open. It doesn't always have to be you have to just beat the guy in front of you.
Especially with his tight bunches and what he wants to talk about, like just tighter formations. You're not leaving them as susceptible as you would outside.
But then when he talked about winning the division, he talked about how important it was to be beasts in the front 7 on both sides of the ball. So he's kind of just saying everything.
Could just be throwing people off sense.
I love the idea of the tight formation, though, and wide receivers that can block. This is a good talking point. I think there's a lot of potential in that. Here he is talking about wide receivers, and something they're looking for still as they're out there looking for a wide receiver too. I believe he reflects on Tolbert. Here we go.
Yeah, Again, CeeDee's an incredible player. Always looking to add depth at that room. Again, really proud of Jalen Tolbert. I've talked about him from the time we started talking about it 2 years ago when he was improving to now we talk about him as the leading receiver, touchdown-wise on our team. Along with finding guys and adding more pieces, it's our job as a staff to be a developmental staff, right? We need to get these guys like Ryan Flournoy, Mingo to take the next step. We have to do that. That's our job. And so one of the things that we're working on right now is an improvement plan for each guy, okay? And, all right, so let's use Mingo, for example. These are the 2 or 3 things that, okay, hey, for Mingo to get to where we want him to go, he does these 3 things. It's not just those 3 things. It's what are the steps, the action plan to do those 3 things. And so that's what we're looking at now with our current players, because as you know, they come back here in 2 weeks. And so between developing those guys on the roster and always looking under every corner to add some speed and some more playmaking skills, we're always looking to do that.
Love to hear that. You got to have a backup plan to add, though. I know he wants to protect his guys and give Flournoy and Mingo a shot and Tolbert and Brooks and whoever else, but from a front office perspective, we got to get him some better players. That's what that comes down to right there. And I'd be excited if they do it at 12. Got a lot of draft coverage here coming up all month long as we build towards this draft. We'll have the best draft coverage in the world, led by Brian Broaddus.
Thank you, man.
Wolchuk, a big part of it.